Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jez7780 with another Grinds My Gears, episode 34. The Classics Battle, the PlayStation Classic, the newly announced. Oh, look at this. We're going to go. I thought I muted my thing. Oh, crap. Here we go. Sorry about that. Hey, what's up, everyone? This is another What Grinds My Gears, episode 34, the Classics Battle, the newly announced PlayStation Classic. We're going to talk about Xbox, backwards compatibility, because people, saying about old games, like, we don't like old games. And then also to the Nintendo Switch Online. It just seems like it's been a kind of a retro style week. And so far, halfway through. But I just want to say, thanks to everybody coming out. And we're going to go into this now. Like, how I like to compare things, because they're all competitors, all three of them, and I always match up one against the other. And when one does something, the other one should, what the response is and what's going on and how they react to one another. And obviously, we're going to talk about the newly thing because we don't know that much about it. It's the PlayStation 1 Classic, and I'm going to kind of go over. Let me do my thing. What's up, guys? How you doing? Danny, sick. What's up, man? Coon, how you doing? Yeah, I'm going to just share my screen here for a second, and we're going to go into this, basically what I got going on here. So, yeah. So I'm sure it's been all over the friggin' news, about this thing. This PlayStation Classic launching in December 3rd. It's 45% smaller. It's going to have 20 games on it. It's going to retail for $100, and a big thing I saw that it didn't include the AC adapter, which it comes with a micro USB. It looks like from the package information it shows, but it doesn't come with that dongle, like the plug to plug it into the wall, which it sucks. But a lot of like Amazon doesn't do it. I think with all their tablets, they try to sell that piece for like $20. I've seen companies do this where they don't include the dongle thing to plug into the wall, the USB converter. It's annoying, it's frustrating, but they assume you have them laying around. For $100, I should throw it in. But anyway, it's smaller. It's going to have the wired controller with it, the classic controller, not the DualShock, which came later on the PlayStation 1. But it's a perfect replica of it. I don't think the CD slot opens, but it's just like the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic. Sony just copied something that was successful that Nintendo did last year and this year, re-released the NES. And Sony said, you know what? We'll copy it. They're going to put 20 games on it. They announced 5 of them. A few of them already. Right now, they got Final Fantasy 7 and Tekken 3. Let me see. Did they cover it in this article? No, they don't cover it in this article. Yeah, see, he has the image right here with the. It looks like it has the USB and the HDMI cable, and there's the size difference between the two of them, and that's the original PlayStation, because I think they did make the PS1. Basically, it was like a small one, like to come when the PlayStation 2 came out. They made a smaller version of the PlayStation 1. They also have Ridge Racer, and it'll be interesting to see. Jumping Flash and Wild Arms are the other 2 games, but it'll be interesting to see. If they do Twisted Metal, the original one, play the hell out of that. If they get throw any of the Resident Evils on there, like Resident Evil 2, that would be crazy. That was like the first 2-disc game I remember for that. But Final Fantasy 8, which I don't know if they're gonna throw that on there, which could be a reason why Final Fantasy 8 wasn't on the Switch Xbox kind of announcement thing. It was one of the games that was missing. It could be. I don't know. Maybe they planned on throwing it on this thing, but we'll see. But we don't know too much about it. Just that it's $100 coming out December 3rd, and I'm seeing a lot of people going, this is, it's overpriced, or Xbox now has backwards compatibility. They don't need this. And then Nintendo just announced their NES, their NES Classic online service, where they had 20 games initially at launch with your $20 subscription, and that you could play those games online, not with random people, but only with your friends list. Which that sucks. And I hear that it's hit or miss with that. But the big thing that I wanted to do is we know what Xbox compatibility has been. This new PlayStation Classic has been announced. We saw NES Classic, the Super NES Classic, the success of those consoles. And, just to jump while I'm on this thing, basically for June, the NES Classic was the highest unit selling platform. It won NPD that month. So it was, the NES Classic was #1 in June. And then also too, people say that, we don't want to play old games. You look again here, and backwards compatibility for Xbox fit number 15, number 8, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 showed up because of backwards compatibility. So obviously people want to play old games, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with playing old games, and I'll get to the chat in a little bit. I just want to show one more thing. I don't have a problem with old games. The problem I have is when there is nothing new coming and you kind of rely on old games to kind of pad out or to seem like you have something to talk about. That's where kind of this shows was like, well, wait a second. Why am I going to pay for new stuff to play old games when you're not giving me new stuff to play? And that's where I think the backwards compatibility, like I said, is a golf clap. It is neat. The PlayStation 1, the NES, the Super NES, it is neat. But Microsoft, on their other hand, they have their backwards compatibility lineup right here, right? These games right here, the original Xbox games, were announced in April in 2 waves. And that is the last time they have announced any Xbox original games for the Xbox One since April, almost 5 months ago. And I understand people say this is free. It's free if you own the games. And I own the Conquer Reloaded. It was nice to plug it in and jump on it. I own Crimson Skies. That was nice to jump in on it. But I'm going to explain something here. And first off, if you don't have the game, so you click on it, right? That little green thing right here, that don't say free. Does that say free to anybody out there? Does this say free? That's a $sign. That don't seem free. Let me see what else. I think let me see. Got one of these has to be Rumble Rose. Well, those are 360 games. Screw these. We know those are not free. This stupid thing here. But here we go. Let's see. Wait a second. Battlefront. Is that free? They're $10. Let me explain something too, where I have this issue with this being free. Those are $10 for a half of game, because those games had some online functionality to them, and all the servers for Xbox Original have been shut down. So when you play Star Wars Battlefront 2 or you play Conquer Live and Reloaded, it's not live anymore. It's just single player campaigns. Same thing with Crimson Sky. I had Crimson Sky free, quote unquote free. I put it in the system, and all I could do is play the campaign. The online shut down. Also, too, they may enhance these games, some of them, which, again, another missed opportunity for Microsoft, like their enhancement list. I think it's smaller than this. I think there's like 11 of these games that are enhanced, but for the Xbox One X. But they don't function online, and the enhancements don't include any adjustments for widescreen, stretching, or 4:3. Whereas the NES Classic, the Super NES, and I'm assuming the PlayStation Classic is going to allow for that, because those consoles are designed to implement the new TVs with the nostalgia and actually probably have the emulator stretch the screen. I know the Super NES Classic does. You can stretch it, so you're not limited to 4:3 ratios. And I know they even allow in the Sega Genesis Classic games and stuff like that. Like, you have that. Unfortunately, this Xbox backwards compatibility just gives you the raw deal. Like, it just gives you the game. You could run it, The online don't work, and it doesn't give you any widescreen support or anything like that unless the game had it. But this is all they have is what 31 games, and it hasn't been, and it's been April. So maybe they're not selling. Knights of the Old Republic, a classic game. They're all $10, which in the grand scheme of things is kind of expensive for old games. Like, you know what I mean? The $10, especially games that don't function online. And that's kind of, I think, again, I'm going to get to my stop sharing here. But I'm going to get to the chat stuff now. Yeah, so like the problem is that those games haven't really got it, and I said this before. I like that Microsoft has done this with the backwards compatibility. It's really cool, but it seems half-assed. The whole implementation of it seems half-assed. It is just like supposedly they run it through an emulator and it just runs. Why are they not throwing all their games in backwards compatibility? They stopped in April with the original Xbox games. Maybe they didn't see people buying them in April and they said, you know what, let's stop it. Because Microsoft's real quick to just nick something if it doesn't work. But that's not my thing is that Crimson Skies was online. That's what people wanted to do. That's how you appreciate your IP. That's how you cherish it. You put it and you make sure it functions. Now, I understand that those servers don't work anymore. But if you plan on making that game compatible, then make the servers work. Update it. Put a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of effort into your backwards compatibility program to make these games function fully. It doesn't, it's very misleading when you look at this. I want to just double click. I want to see something. If we look at, yeah, they just announced, wait a second. Wait, I want to just check something here. When you look at Crimson Sky, I'm going to click on this. I want to know if there's anything in here. No. See, I don't see anything in the, here's the overview. Let's see if there's a disclaimer in here. Now, it says here, for more details, see Xbox Originals, Crimson Skies, Road to Revenge. Crimson Skies lets you pilot powerful aircraft. There's no refunds for this item. More information on Xbox Live accounts. Here it is. Alert. The online multiplayer, leaderboards, and voice features of this game are no longer supported. So they do have the alert. At least they have that. But there's still $10, the same price of another game. It should be like $4 or $5 because it's half the game is not even functioning. And that was the biggest problem I had with the original Xbox game backwards compatibility was that, fortunately, Microsoft was ahead of the game back then, was like doing a lot of online stuff. Oh, well, I don't see an alert here for Star Wars Battlefront 2. I want to see it for Crimson Skies. Oh. Maybe it's on this page. No. Offline 1 to 4 system link. Yeah. It just seems is that it's very half-assed. Like it's just it's like you went halfway, but you didn't go all the way. And the thing is like, when you look at these classics, this NES, Super NES, the PlayStation 1, when you look at it, the thing is that when they use this thing, is that it's a replica of the original system. And I tweeted it out today. If Microsoft made an original Xbox, like an original Xbox, OG Xbox Classic, and threw a little Wi-Fi chip in there and said that they work on some sort of like, something, hell, make it attached to Xbox Live, but made it work like that and sell for $100 and put about 20 or 30 of those games on there, that would sell. So it's not that there's no interest in it. It's just that it was badly implemented. It's nice that it's all on one console, but when you have stuff with limited feature sets and you're charging people money to pay $10 for a game that doesn't function online. And that was the ability of that was the whole point of that game, was the online functionality, like a Battlefront or something along those lines. You should go the extra step and really kind of ensure that that stuff works. But they didn't. They just dumped it on there. They just dumped it on Xbox One and think that idiots are going to buy it for $10. Or they say it's free. Well, it's not free. It's $10. If you have the original OG disc like from 10 years ago, then it's free for you. But it's not just free. They're not hand-me-outs. Like, they're not free. They're $10 each. All right. So it's $320 if you want to go buy all the original Xbox One games that are in the store right now. So I just think it's a little misleading when people are like, oh, well, I could play on Xbox for free and you got to go pay $100 or $80 for NES or a Classic. Yo, they're free here. They're free if you bought them and you kept them. And you probably got rid of them when they stopped supporting online with the 360 with those original games, when they shut down the servers, when they came out with Halo. So it's not free. They're $320 if you want all 32 of those games. And they're not even fully functional, the ones that have online stuff. So, it just seems like a half-assed deal. And I think Microsoft should have done a little bit better. It was an E3 announcement. And I think, maybe it didn't kick off the way it is, because the last update we got with OG Xbox games was April 17th and 26th, 2 waves. They announced those games and that was it. And some of them, I think like 5 or 6 of them were enhanced for the Xbox One X. I remember seeing screenshots of people and stuff. But Sony, not doing backwards. They have some on the Vita. I think they got some class like PlayStation 2 games and stuff like that. But the thing is that Sony is now taking a playbook right out of Nintendo and putting a PlayStation for $100, 20 classic games, original controllers, go. Hell, Microsoft didn't even do the OG Duke controller. Like, Seamus Blackley's company had to do it, and Microsoft gave it the licensing. Yeah, sure, go ahead, do it. The okay, the green light. But it wasn't Phil Spencer and crew trying to celebrate nostalgia or trying to bring back that stuff, thinking like, hey, we're bringing original Xbox games here. Why don't we re-release a controller? Hell, they released thousands of controllers anyway. Why wouldn't you do an original OG Xbox controller just to do for that game? But they didn't. Instead, Seamus had to do it on an independent project, get approval from Phil, and run it that way. It just shows they have so many missed opportunities. Even the classic, having a classic Xbox, if you threw online in there, threw a little Wi-Fi chip for $120, an Xbox original classic with 20 games. There was some good games on the original Xbox. But again, they're relying on this backwards compatibility, but they're not really doing it full-heartedly. And it's like everything else that they've been doing. It's all half-ass. And the thing is that, yes, you don't buy a new console, especially a $500 one, to play new games. You don't. Old games, I mean. You don't want to play old games. And the criticism comes in that if Nintendo and Sony, now more so Sony than Nintendo, but Nintendo and Sony are releasing new games, and we could go through them again. It's the same ones. It's, The Last of Us 2's coming out. They got the God of War, the Spider-Man game. Nintendo has Smash Brothers coming. Now, say it's not a new game, but it is, it is Smash Brothers with all tons of content in it. But they did give us a new Mario. They give us a new Zelda, Splatoon 2, and they've been giving, and they got some exclusive games and stuff like that. So Nintendo and Sony are giving new experiences with their new consoles. Now, whether they support backwards compatibility with the NES Online or with the NES Classic, the Super NES, Nintendo's doing amazing with nostalgia. They just keep making people pay 4 and 5 times for the same games. But the thing is that, like I said, it's an accessory to what's going on. If all Nintendo was doing was re-releasing old consoles and they didn't have a Switch, then people will be like, Nintendo, are you just resting on your laurels? What are you doing? But the fact that they have a Switch and they're offering new stuff. If Sony was just sitting there going, well, here's the PlayStation Classic, and they haven't released the PlayStation 4, and they're just like, here's a Classic. Like, or we're just not putting, or they just not you making any games and they just release a classic, people be like, well, what are you doing? Where's the new stuff? Like, I like the old stuff, but where's some new stuff? But those guys seem to be giving us new experiences, new games to use on our new consoles. That's where Microsoft has a problem. They are not providing new games and experiences on a more expensive console, nonetheless, the most powerful console. And instead, what they're doing is using backwards compatibility, specifically with the 360, and using that as filler, like Rumble Rose's announcement or Brutal Legend yesterday that Major Nelson announced. Those Xbox original games back in April. But then you have E3, you come tell us that you just bought studios to make games now in 2018. 5 years into the generation, you decided to make some games that are going to be 4 years from now. Then you have Gamescom, and all you do is showing third party. All you're doing at E3 is showing third party with your typical Halo, which is not even in-game stuff, and also Gears of War 5, which that looked like more like closer to release than Halo did, because actually it was gameplay, I assume. And then you have Gamescom that comes by, another big conference in Europe where you're getting destroyed, and all you do is show Tomb Raider. You show all your third party deals. Show a PUBG controller. Talk more about PUBG, and that's the way you roll. Like, it's just, and meanwhile, while you're pacifying us on just third party shit that everybody's getting, right, except the Switch, and backwards compatibility announcements and controllers, the shit rises to the top. It's sort of like, what, like, what is this? Like, where's the stuff? And then you're trying to give me bundles with third-party games and trying to show me $500 console and then show me old games, backwards compatibility. Who the fuck's buying the $500 X to go play Rumble Roses? Come on. And that's where the problem is that Microsoft is relying on that backwards compatibility. And I said this so many times. When they announced backwards compatibility, I was excited, because I thought the backwards compatibility was going to feed into giving me the sequels to these games that we used to have. And they started doing that. Like, they started bundling the first game backwards compatible with the new version coming out. And I was like, oh, man. And I'm not saying I want Blinks 2, but like examples like, oh, you have Blinks as backwards compatible to bring Blinks 2 out. Or you have you even remastered whatever that was, a Voodoo Vince for Voodoo Vince 2. You use these as leapfrog games. You fund them, or you use them as a way to get people involved so they could get the new one. But what happened is we weren't getting the new ones. We didn't even see the next Battletoads, the next Conker, the next Blinks, the next anything that they have shown. That backwards compatibility was the sole they depended on it to keep them relevant in news. And that's where I don't want to play old games, because I don't want to buy new hardware to play your old games if that's all that you're offering. Now, these NES, these classic consoles are different. Those things are built for a collector or for something where you want your games, and they're going to function on that system with the original controller. It plays the part, plus it has the game. So there's a different way. Like, you're not buying a $500 console to go play a game from 2011 that doesn't function online. Like, you're not doing that. So you're buying it for the new games, and those other games are a golf clap. Thank you, backwards compatibility. Thank you for being so kind. But when you go all in, and that's all you're producing, and that's all you're offering, that's where it's a problem. That's when you're resting on laurels of games that from the past. And that's where there's an issue with it. And that's why it's not as bad when Nintendo and Sony do it, because they're giving you new experiences, where Microsoft is resting on backwards compatibility just to pacify them. That Modern Warfare 2 thing, hitting it, like, that was a win for them, because they basically, that was a win. They held out so long on Modern Warfare 2, or Activision did at least. But that's how they rolled. Like, that's a good win for them. And that's fine. But that's not going to propel you to success. That's not going to make you win NPDs. That's not going to make you sell consoles to gain developer mind share, to use your console and use your services. And that's basically what it's all about, is selling the console to build mind share, to gain developer focus, to make games for your console. And Microsoft's all over the place. And they think that they could just rest on these laurels and rest on backwards compatibility, which is not free. It requires you to buy those games and be careful buying them because some of them don't function. And especially the OG games, the original ones. But it's all just tugging on nostalgia strings. And the thing is like, you know, though that classic game, the NES classic, you're not going to, it's nice to have, but that's not something you're going to sit there and say, oh man, put all these new games, these holiday games aside because I'm just going to sit here and play hours. There'll be people that will, but you're going to jump in, play the games and jump out. Like, that's the thing. Like, these things are, these systems are not meant to be like replacements. Like, don't sell off all your consoles to go get a classic. They're accessories, they're nostalgia pieces, they're places to have, that they're remnants. People like the visual of seeing those, people like playing the games. It's different. And that's what I mean. Old games are good as an accessory to new experiences. Because if you're not getting new experiences and new games and new IP, and all you're getting are older games and all these old announcements and these just from them, that's where it's like, yo, step it up. Give us some new stuff and stop just all you have as announcements is these older games and controllers. And that's what I mean. That's why I think people just don't understand when those announcements come out with controllers and stuff, that flows right to the top because that's all that's coming out of them. And it's sad. It's sad. And I think it's despicable. I think it's horrible. Because you see these 360 games, you see these other games, and think about, you know, and it's funny. Here, I'm going to show you something. And if you don't follow me on Twitter, you can go follow me on Twitter. But here, I'm going to show you. Let's see. I'm going to go through one of these photos that I took because I cleaned out my house here, my room. Where is it? And I'll share my screen again. Back here. And hold on, I'm just finding it. I'll go on my photo. I love the gift. Here it is. Okay. Now you want to go down. We're going nostalgia, right? We're going nostalgia this time. I'm going to show you nostalgia. Here we go. So I took this photograph this past weekend, and this is all the stuff that I had for Xbox left. And yeah, you can see. So obviously there's movies there because on the bottom in the middle is the HD DVD player, which I got day one with King Kong and bought a whole bunch of HD DVDs. And unfortunately, that whole battle, Microsoft lost that one to Blu-ray, and it's done. So that's not too much of their fault. Like, you know, they just bet against Sony on the Blu-ray, try to go HD DVD, movie studios, and that's where the bigger problem had with the movie studios. But they made an accessory. And the key to look at this photograph is first party. First party. That's the key, is looking at first party accessories, not farmed out bullshit. First party. The biggest thing, the Xbox 360 wheel had force feedback, had pedals, worked with all the games. So Forza back then had to sit on your lap. It had the Xbox One. It was a first-party Xbox controller. It even had the little headphone jack where you could plug it in and actually chat with your headphone set right from the right from the wheel. You didn't need your controller sitting next to you like you do now, or a wireless one. You could just have it plugged into the thing. Also, the side pocket right over here used the Xbox 360 battery pack. So that the nickel metal hydride battery pack that was used in your controllers, it worked right into the controller right there. It worked right into it, and that will give you the functionality. But then you had to plug it in to get the force feedback. But you could still use it wirelessly with the and that was the other thing. It was wireless. You use the wireless technology. Then we look Scene It controllers. I had those. Look at those. Those little Xbox buttons on them. Those were little buzzers to play Scene It. And that little white thing there was the receiver for it. Where are these fun things? You want to look at them and laugh? But this is like party games. Where are the party games? Where's the fun stuff, Microsoft? Like, the thing is that I'm not looking for, I know they're not going to come out with God of War. All right? A God of War type game. But there are so many little things that they could be doing right now to make Xbox fun again. Make Xbox fun. I don't feel like we're fun. I feel like Xbox is like an old man in a suit talking about numbers, talking about engagement, talking about subscription bullshit, and has missed the fun. And I'm not saying that was an amazing game, but it got people playing. And on Sony's end, they got that play link, just like Jackbox games, and its own first party where they use the app on your phone and you could play. Frantics is one. They got the Test Your Knowledge game. And I've got people sitting around playing those games that use the phone, and it uses the Wi-Fi from the PlayStation. And actually, it's a fun party game. And they got a couple more coming out this year. They had 4 of them last year. They were $20, $10. They dropped them down to $10. You downloaded the app on your phone. It uses the gyro sensor. You could actually take photographs of yourself, and the photographs go into the TV, and you don't need a controller. You use it. It's called PlayLink. And again, it's a way to get people around the system playing, just like Rock Band was and all that other stuff. Microsoft had that first party wireless microphone. Wireless microphone for Lips, their karaoke game. I know PlayStation has Sing, but Microsoft had 2 of them. They came, a black one and a white one. They were amazing controls, and actually they worked in Rock Band too. Make Xbox fun. Harmony branded Xbox control, remote control. Harmony partnered with them. They made a special one with the buttons on it. Now I know nowadays they don't need that because now that's just all Wi-Fi, Bluetooth technology communication. Now the biggest problem right here are these 2 things. The Modern Warfare 3 Bluetooth headset branded Xbox, and the Halo 3 wireless Bluetooth headset. First party. Where the hell are they for this generation? This generation is all about wireless and all that other stuff. Where is your wireless chat headset? You know, so I can experience Dolby Atmos with a little bead in my head, my headset, rather than having an old school McDonald's headset on my head. Why do I feel like I went back in time? When I chat on Xbox and I want to listen to my surround sound, I got fucking Ronald McDonald headset on. Why do I feel back in the 360 I was a little more future tech, where I had this little clip in my ear and I heard the chat of my friends in my ear while I'm sitting there without big headphones on my head? Why do I feel like I went back in time with my McDonald's headset? Why? You have 5,000 fucking controllers. You can't make a Bluetooth headset? Fuck for a game. Just make one. No. That's what I mean. What is going on over there? There's so many little things that they could be doing. Same thing with their headsets. They only came out with one stereo headset. A stereo fucking headset. Sony has come out with the golds that broke, the golds 2 that look better, a 500 million condition gold, and the platinum headsets. All first-party accessories. Microsoft has still a wired stereo headset that still comes with that has the fucking dongle thing because it doesn't have controls on the headset itself. No wireless Bluetooth. Instead, they just go, Turtle Beach is making one for us. Oh, Lucid Sound's going to make one for us. Get your fucking shit together. And we come to this generation. The fucking Kinect. The thing that was the lifeblood of the fucking Xbox One X. The one, I mean. What the fuck it is? The one. The microphone array at the bottom that would pick up your voice from anywhere in the room. The amazing camera that would zoom in on you when you're talking on Skype and you have a call to grandma. Never implemented like Skype in the corner while you're chatting with your friends and you could be playing games with an overlay. Nah, Snap is gone too. That's where it goes. The garbage. Nobody wants it. They stopped making the adapter for it. They stopped manufacturing it. It's garbage. It's a doorstop. Abandoned. Because it didn't work out. And add Kinect to Microsoft Band, to Nokia phones, the Luminous line, to Windows Mobile, to Snap feature. Taken so much away. And I wouldn't complain about getting taken so much away if I had so much to look forward to or getting so much now. But you're getting caught with your pants down now, and you got so much taken away from you. This was the 360 generation. This is when Microsoft gave a fucking shit about a gamer. This is what they did. They accessorized the gamer. They made the gamer play. They didn't talk about engagement bullshit. They didn't talk about fucking clouds and all this other shit. They gave people ways to experience their games. New experiences, modified experiences, interactive experiences, party experiences. It was fun. Now it's boring ass trash. So we're going to talk nostalgia. There's nostalgia right there. And they could release some games, but they're resting on their old laurels right now while nothing's coming out. And like I said, it's not that you're looking for the next God of War coming from Microsoft. It's not that, because they're not going to deliver on that. Obviously. They're not going to deliver on that. But the problem is they don't listen. They're not connected to the gamer. They don't know what the gamer wants. Sony, they just give the PlayStation now. It's going to sell. NPD. December NPD is going to be a bloodbath. Nintendo, as stupid as the NES on the online system is, the limitations, the nut kicks, people will tolerate it because they're giving people what they want. People never, like, they were smart to put those 20 games that are not on the NES Classic. Some of them are, but put like ice hockey on there and ice hockey and some of those are some really, and then know that you're getting 3 a month after that. But the thing is that people will put up with your bullshit when you're giving people what they want. But the bullshit's going to rise to the top when you're not giving people what they want. And that's where Microsoft is right now. All the bullshit is floating to the top. Just like a fucking turd floats right up to the top when you're not giving people what they want. But people will swallow that pill if you deliver. And that PlayStation 1, that PlayStation Classic is going to fly off the shelves. Just like the NES Classic did, just like the Super NES Classic had last year. I'm telling you. And the fact is that, those PlayStation games are kind of tipping into the modern scale where, the NES are pretty old. Super NES were early 90s. Like the PlayStations get in there when we started getting a little bit more 3D games. So these games are a little bit more palatable. They're a little bit more palatable on a classic system than some of the old retro games. So we're kind of getting there. Like I want an NES next year, probably a Nintendo 64 classic, and it'll be so cool to have the little emulators. I think Genesis, the Sega's making one next year, but they're totally different than backwards compatibility because they're actually retro pieces. They're actually like pieces of furniture. They're small. They're portable. They're a little bit different than just saying I could play old Xbox games on my Xbox and they don't work and they don't have like features that we should expect in this time, like screen scaling and stuff like that. They're just basically dumped on an Xbox One and they want to charge you $10. And again, $320 if you want to buy 32 Xbox original games that were announced back in April and have not had any new ones since. Also, too, you have to look at it that Nintendo and Sony do have legacies. That PlayStation was revolutionary. The NES was in the console space. The Super NES was big. The Genesis. These games, they kind of paved the way for what we have for consoles today. The Xbox did it too, but they didn't. But come on. If they released, and chat, you're in your chat, like if they released an original Xbox One, an OG Xbox, with Halo original, like Blinks, like just released a whole bunch of their games, like Fusion Frenzy, things like that, and added online play to it on a classic console, and it has Wi-Fi built into it. And they took some of their games. Now, again, the Xbox original had some good games on it, but nothing were they were good games, but Halo was the big one. But they had some great games on the original Xbox. Shit, Halo 2 was on the original Xbox. But come on, you put the original Halo 2. I know you got Master Chief Collection, but you put the original Halo 2, Halo 1, Brute Force, like Blinks, Blood Wake, Jet Set Radio, MotoGP, throw in a couple of your old sport. You probably can't do the sports games because they have licenses and people's likenesses on them. Man, they have Peyton Manning on NFL Fever. But throw about a couple of those games on there, add some online functionality in it, put a Bluetooth, put a wireless chip in an Xbox original classic, and charge $120, $100, even $150. Yo, that is gold money right there. That is gold money. But you take some of those games, not even Brute Force, but you take like Crimson Skies, Brute Force, add those to a classic Xbox controller. That's money. It's money right there. You don't need to be a lifetime gamer. You don't even need to be a suit. You don't even need to be a Microsoft executive. All you have to do is give a fuck about the Xbox fan base and know that they would buy that. You would sell that to tons of people. In addition, it would show respect for the IPs that you had. Instead, you take those games, you dump them on a $500, $300 console. Half the online features don't work. Yeah, it's smoothed out because the console is just doing something through an emulator. It doesn't have any online features, doesn't have any screen, like the online doesn't work. Like you just click on Crimson Skies Online, it's broke. Like it just says, oh, can't do it. Servers are down. It's broke. And you dump them on there and you charge $10 and call it a day. Tell me which one would fly off the shelves, which would sell. They're so out of touch with the consumer. They have lost their way totally. So I don't know how they're going to grab 2 billion people when I don't even, like I said, they can't even satisfy their core audience. They got to satisfy their core audience first. So when I look at backwards compatibility, it's neat. When I look at NES Classic, it's neat. I have it. The Super NES Classic, I have it. I have a Pandora's box. That's a big thing. It has 2,000 games. I reviewed it on my channel. It's like one of my earliest videos. It's amazing. I suggest everybody goes and gets one of those things because it's an amazing controller. It's $200. And it has, now they got the Pandora Box 6 out there, and it's all arcade games like Ninja Turtles, WrestleFest, all those beat 'em up games from Capcom that just released, hint, hint, all those games on a dual arcade joystick that you just plug it into your TV. Look at it on Amazon. There's tons of them. Absolutely amazing. You want a retro console, $200, a friggin' arcade, even busted in your house. Old school busters. Every single Street Fighter could be imaginable. And you'll check out my review. I reviewed it really early on, but I got that. So I got kind of a retro area. It's neat. It's a cool conversation piece. It's cool when people come over and you want to play it. Like, it was awesome playing WrestleFest, going through WrestleFest, or going through X-Men, sitting next to somebody playing that stuff. It is cool. It is a neat experience, but that is not my primary way to play. And that's the thing. Like, those games, this stuff is nice, but this is not going to drive. It's not primary. It is a nostalgia piece. Like the classic games, like, that's nice. Let me play a little bit. That's good. But if that's all you're offering, and the stuff that you're offering right now is either lacking or non-existent, that's where the problem lies. And that's the situation that Microsoft's in right now. They're resting on backwards compatibility just to try to maintain. I'm going to tell you this. They're relying on backwards compatibility and that fucking preview program. That's all that's keeping the lights on over there. And now Game Pass. And I'm going to tell you one little problem I have with Game Pass too. Because I think I was listening to somebody and they were saying about how, like, Phil was like, well, cross-play, if one parent buys an Xbox and plays it for Fortnite on one console, then they buy a PlayStation 1, those guys should play together. The parent doesn't know. They bought a PlayStation, they bought an Xbox. Then I thought about that. I was like, yeah, you're right. First off, I wouldn't buy two different brands to think that they're going to play with each other, because I don't know, I don't know who, like, any consumer consumers probably do that, but like, I wouldn't expect that. Like, somebody doesn't buy an Apple and a Google and go, oh, they're going to talk to each other. But I thought the same thing. I was like, you know what? I see Microsoft bundling Game Pass with these games, right? With this system. You buy Game Pass, and this kind of goes along the lines of them selling the original Xbox One games with limited features. You just buy an Xbox, and you just get Game Pass. Say you buy Game Pass for 3 months, $30. There are games in Game Pass that don't function at all or have limited function abilities to it because it requires another subscription. So that same parent that buys that for the child, they go get Game Pass, right? All right, I'm playing. Oh, look, 100 games, Mom, thanks. And then, here you go. I subscribed you for $30 3 months. You got 3 months. You got 100 games. Leave me alone. The kid goes and downloads Sea of Thieves. Boots it up. You can't play Sea of Thieves. Wait, Mom, I can't play. What do you mean? Why can't you play? It says I have to subscribe. It's like, we did subscribe. You pay. We got 3 months of this service. No, it says I need something else. What do you mean? It says I got to subscribe to Xbox Live. It's like, well, what do we subscribe to? I don't know. It said Game Pass. So wait, are you telling me that those 100 games that I just subscribed to, some of them you can't play without another subscription? Yeah, that's right. I can't play them. Oh, well, let me try this Master Chief Collection. All right, I'm going to play this. Oh, cool. Oh, I can play on. Oh, here we go. I'm going to jump into the multiplayer now. Click on it. You got to do Xbox Live. Wait a second. I only can play the single player of this? Yeah, you need Xbox Live to do it. Gears of War. Let me try. Oh, I'm going to try the. Oh, I'm done with the campaign. That was fun. I want to do the multiplayer. You need Xbox Live. But you just subscribe to Game Pass. So you subscribe to Game Pass to access games that are not fully functional because you need another subscription to do that. That's why they need to combine the two of them together to work Game Pass and Xbox Live, because it doesn't make sense to have online only games like Sea of Thieves or online focus game like State of Decay 2 or games with multiplayer functions that you can't play. So when they say 100 games, you better start deducting, like, maybe it's not 100, maybe it's like, 96 or 96 and a half, like, because these games need online. And screw if you want to play Fortnite without a subscription. They're the only console right now that requires a subscription to Fortnite. But I do see consoles being bundled with Game Pass. The problem is that some of those games require Xbox Live, and games like Sea of Thieves don't even function. And it tells me either Game Pass is not as prevalent as it should be, because you think they would combine the services because they need to if the casual consumer was in those situations. But maybe Game Pass is not doing that great or doing reaching that market yet, because they don't combine them all, because that's a huge problem. You sign somebody up at Game Pass and there's games that just don't work. Especially they're advertising. I'm like, oh, play Sea of Thieves. And it's like, you can't play it. You need 2 subscriptions. You need $30 plus you need $60 for a year, or $30 plus you need another $15. So it's $50. Like, you got to subscribe. It's misleading. Same thing with their original Xbox games. Go buy Crimson Skies for $10 and you're playing the campaign. In 4.3, no widescreen, just the same old game that you played. But go buy an NES Classic and you go play Super Mario Brothers 3 widescreen with smoothing of pixels, stuff like that. It's made for that, and they have it all in one spot. It's just that Xbox needed to go. They need to stop this half-ass shit. Same thing with those accessories that I went through. Like, all they've been producing is controllers. No original Bluetooth headsets, no wireless 7.1 Atmos headsets. They have done nothing. Nothing. They have abandoned. I'm just feel abandoned. Like, they have abandoned the Xbox. They abandoned it and just told you to wait and try to fill in some bullshit news. I saw Major Nelson's Inside Xbox about Forza that's coming. And again, quote unquote, he did big surprises. Oh, come on. What's the big surprise, Major Nelson? What, are you going to sit in a car again? Yay, big surprise. Major Nelson's in one of the race cars. Enough. There's no big surprises. There's no big announcements. You're going to be sitting in a castle in England. And know what else? I was listening to some guys playing Forza 4 as a side note. London apparently is not in the game. It's Ingletown. I don't know, some other town that's like London that's bigger, but you can't drive through London in Forza Horizon. That city is not in there. I don't know if that's news to anybody, but I was like, oh, really? Like, oh, okay. You can't drive through London? Like, nope. It's all green trees and all that stuff, and then some other town, other city. I'm sure European people would know. But it's another town. It's not London. They said they couldn't do it. That's what the guy said on the YouTube. The game looks great on PC. But, you know, it's Forza. It's another racing game. Like, it's just like, it's not too different than Forza Horizon 3. I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to review well, but I do think the problem that's going to lie in there is the seasons. And I think that if you're restricted and you have to change Xbox internal clocks to do it offline, I don't think people want to race a full week in snow and ice. Especially if you're racing like Lamborghinis or Ferraris and stuff like that, and you got race cars, and all of a sudden you turn it on, it's like, oh, this week's snow and ice. And it's like, oh. And I bet you probably a month after it, they're going to change it and make it daily changes or 2-day changes, because I don't think people are going to sit for want to slide around, because that's the only thing that impacts gameplay is the snow and ice. You know, you could do the other seasons. I don't give a shit. That's aesthetics. That's just like leaves and trees and stuff like that. But, you know, I think that restricting people to snow and ice, sliding all over the place, and affecting gameplay for the entire week, if you don't have any control over that, I think that's going to be an issue. And especially offline. If you just want to play offline and you're like, no, I got to go snow and ice. Like, no, I just want to just have the seasons change dynamically, like during the day, like during my gameplay. Like, don't lock it down for a week in that. And that's what apparently they're doing. So I'm sure they're going to take user feedback. We hear you. And a month later, they're going to say, we're sorry. Just like the Sea of Thieves guys goes, we're sorry. They delayed the Volcano Islands. They got delayed. Oops, we're sorry. Because that's such as a games as a service. They fuck it up every update they do. That's not games as a service. That's another crapshoot. Throwing shit against the wall, see what sticks. And they'll wait and they'll get feedback for Forza and they'll probably say, now we're going to change the seasons daily. Feedback said that a week was too long to race, especially in the snow and ice and all that other stuff. And there you go. And people want to control it offline. And apparently I heard that you got it. They've been asking on Reset Era and stuff like that. Like it might be tied to your internal clock on your Xbox. So you have to like change it to change the season. Not a good move. We'll see. But that impacts gameplay. But anyway, that was just some side note conversation stuff. I'll probably talk more about it tonight on Planet Xbox if we talk about more stuff. But, you know, this whole Classics thing, I'm excited. I pre-ordered the PlayStation Classic. You could do it at Best Buy. I still got to wait to see what the other games are, but I might as well just lock it down just so, you know, if they announce like Metal Gear and stuff like that, which would be pretty cool. Man, I remember playing that original one. It would be cool. Like, you know, they're kind of announcing the games a little bit at a time. They announced 5. So I think that, you know, I definitely think it's cool as hell, like, you know, having the original controller. They're going to give 2 controllers, which is nice, instead of the 1, because they have Tekken on there and stuff like that. So, and yeah, if they do, man, split screen Twisted Metal back then. Oh, my God. I used to play it all the time. That was crazy. And Final Fantasy VII's on there, which, you know, playing Final Fantasy VII with a classic controller, I know it's like out in every which way, but it's cool. Imagine that game. That game's going to be on there. It was like 3 discs. Crazy. But yeah, I you know, and then the NES stuff, you know, I really don't touch too much into it, but the online limitation of just having your friends list, I think is messed up. But I do think the thing with Nintendo Online is that it's such crap right now with the whole chat and, you know, the profile sharing. I heard people now signing up for family accounts and able to share games, you know, with the family accounts. So for $34, you get like 5 or 7 accounts and just add people to your family and they all get that game. So I think they got some sort of share going on that people found a way. I'm sure Nintendo will find a way to shut that down. But because they always do. They don't like people having fun. But I think that, you know, I do think that they will be, I think that the big draw for that game, for the NES Online, is those 20 games, is those classic NES games with online functionality. That is the reason why people are going to drop the $20 just to play those games and get 3 more a month. That's what people are going to do. And it's interesting tying it to a subscription. But they added online function. You kidding that Nintendo added online function to games that never had online. Okay, I heard it works not bad. All right. They got to make it with randoms. I think so you can play online, but it only works for your friends list. But they added online function to games that never had online function, like ice hockey and stuff like that. Like, at least that's a nice step in the right direction. As much of a screw job as what the game is with chat and all that other shit. But if they had regular chat and stuff, and it would work like on traditional friends list, and with that is something good. Like, how the hell did Nintendo add online function to Super Mario Brothers 3 and Microsoft selling Crimson Skies with no servers for $10? This is what boggles my mind. How does Nintendo add online functionality to ice hockey that had like Chuck Norris on the front, and Microsoft releases Battlefront 2 on OG Xbox game on the Xbox One X, a $500 piece of hardware with AC Wi-Fi and all this shit built into it already, with no service? How the hell is Nintendo having a step up on games that never even had online functionality, adding a online functionality service to it, and Microsoft's just dumping their old games there with no service and charging you $10? Like, that's ass backwards. Ass backwards. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, ass backwards, and this is not really part of the thing, but I just want to wrap it up with this, is the recent stuff for Halo Infinite. And it kind of goes along the lines where I was saying that Halo Infinite is going to be like your Fortnite. It is going to be a platform. It is going to be the last Halo game, because they're just going to just keep putting content in the game. And one of the things that they were looking at is hiring a creative director for microtransactions. And it's going to have the multiplayer is going to have an online focus on esports. The thing is that I understand that microtransactions existed in Halo 5. Microtransactions are what they are. Esports, I think if you present it off as an esports game first, I think that's forced. I wouldn't do that. Like, look at look what they did with friggin' Evolved. Like, that game could have been more of a creepy game. Instead, they had some shoutcaster there. That game was failed. I just don't like when they present it with esports intentions. Just let it naturally happen. You'll have your Halo championships. I understand that stuff, but I don't want to hear about this focus on esports. The thing is that I just feel like the things that I want to be hearing about Halo Infinite. Also, I know these are not coming from Microsoft directly. This is just news, but I'd rather have the news be focused on more of like who you're gonna play, what's the game like, where does it take place, what kind of what are the game modes, like some nice things. Like, why are we starting off right now with microtransactions and esports? Like, why is that the Halo news? And Microsoft has to get in front of this shit. See, that's the problem I have with them, how they have a disconnect. Don't just, first of all, you just teased your Slipspace engine. You didn't show Halo at all, gameplay at all. You just teased the Slipspace engine with that video. But you don't highlight the game. Like, this did the same thing with Sea of Thieves. They're like, oh, you're a pirate in this. And everybody's like, well, what do you do? It's like, oh, you're a pirate. You'll do Pirate Legend, become Pirate Legend. And they're like, well, what do you do? And obviously I just feel that Microsoft's promotion of the games is ass backwards. When Microsoft promotes their own games, Phil goes out there and talks about service. And then he was not hiding the next, Project Scarlet, the next Xbox is being developed in Game Pass. We'll be streaming games in 2 years. Like, he has no shame in talking about that future. But heaven forbid they confirm that they're making Fable. Well, heaven forbid, tell me when the hell is Crackdown coming out? Well, why don't you make Crackdown playable? Like, this is what I mean. Xbox needs to be fun again. They need to make it fun. I feel that everything they want to talk about is boring ass business bullshit years out. And the fun stuff, the games, the story, the interactions, how we're going to play, what we're going to see, all that stuff is hidden. The thing was, gameplay and all that stuff for Sea of Thieves was hidden for over a year in beta. And everybody just excused, like, oh, what were they hiding? It was the same fucking game that came out of beta. What? Don't look at the water? Don't share a screenshot of a pirate ship in the water? Because you're on the NDA? What the fuck were you hiding NDA for? Was it the aesthetic items, the hats and shit that weren't in the game until day one? Like, what the hell? What are we hiding in Sea of Thieves? That you couldn't share gameplay and news and stuff. What? That's right, Daniel. Right. Don't ask. Just trust the process, right? Don't ask. I don't trust the process. That's where I have this thing, because I don't trust them. I just don't understand it. State of Decay 2, like, same thing. Like, well, show us some stuff. Oh no, yeah, it'll be it's gonna be amazing DLC. Like, again, like, they waited until the month the thing came out and then started showing about it. And the first thing you hear about is that, oh, you can't be separate too far from your guys. That's what people got out of the demo of State of Decay 2. Like, and the same thing, Crackdown. We know Crackdown, like, this is what I mean. We know Crackdown's going to be part of Game Pass. We know Crackdown is going to be on Xbox and PC day one. It's Play Anywhere title. We know that it's going to use some online functionality. We know that Terry Crews is in it. But nobody has played it yet. Multiplayer-wise. The multiplayer has not been demoed at all, and it's supposed to be coming out in February. Don't you think that people playing the game and people seeing the game and real and like playing it and doing that stuff should have been kind of like before we know about all the fucking Game Pass and Play Anywheres? And that's the thing. Like, we know so much about these games and how they're going to be delivered and sold to us, but we know nothing about the games themselves. Microsoft just hires that. We know that all their games are going to be Game Pass and game and Play Anywhere and all this other shit, but we don't know what games they're going to be. Phil could talk about streaming 3 years from now, but won't tell me what's next fucking holiday, but won't have a game for this December or what's coming out next holiday. Like, we don't have a date for Ori. Like, we don't have, where's Below? Where's Ashen? Ashen was supposed to come out in October. Like, but meanwhile, he's okay to confirm a next console on E3 stage. He's okay to show 5,000 fucking controllers. But they're not fine in speaking on the games. The only part of the games that they're willing to share is how we could buy them and how, what Microsoft service is going to be tied to it. Like I said, old man in a business suit. It's not fun. It's not exciting. It's not news. It's boring ass shit. So make Xbox fun or get the fuck out. If you want Windows so bad, then make the fucking bed and go with Windows and get the fuck out of the gaming business and give it to somebody that gives a shit. And that's the honest truth. They have abandoned us. They're trying to sell us fucking peanuts and tell us to make peanut butter. Meanwhile, Nintendo and Sony are making us gourmet peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, handmade, done. And Microsoft's trying to make news out of peanuts. So, stop it. I'm done with the bullshit news, with the Major Nelson teases, with the Aaron Greenberg X is going to give it to you in the ass. Just stop it. You have nothing to say. You are rebuilding. So, like I said before, go behind your walls. Go make something. Exactly. The game night. Days Gone had a full fucking thing at E3. Before E3 in Game Informer. And it's fully playable at the Brazilian Game Show, which Microsoft supposedly has a big presence at there. Do you see the lineup that Sony's going to have tonight or tomorrow at the Tokyo Game Show? I heard people going, well, then you know what? All those Final Fantasy games going, Square Enix is getting in bed with Microsoft with all those games. Square Enix announced 5 other games that are exclusive of PlayStation, all new games. Those games that they put on Xbox right now are fucking hand-me-outs. They've been on the PlayStation Store since 2015. That Final Fantasy games. They've been on the store since 2015. Final Fantasy 7 has been in the Android store since 2016 or 2014. Now they're making their way to Xbox because of Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer didn't do shit. Square Enix is like, yo, PlayStation, Android, we're tapped. They're not selling that much. Go put it somewhere else that we don't have the games on. That's what Square Enix did. There's an opportunity. This wasn't no deal. This wasn't no Phil Spencer having going to Japan. There's nothing to do with Phil. Phil's not gaining good graces because Square Enix announced a Quiet Man. They announced 4 other games that are going right to PlayStation day one and Steam. Not Windows 10, Steam. So Microsoft got a lot of shit to do. And it's really sad that they got a $500 product on shelves and are this disconnected. And that X is not, like, come on. That X is released. They haven't even came in second in MPD since this whole entire year. They came in second the month it was released. They didn't even win that month. They came in second. And then I think they came in second in December. That was it. And that was all the people waiting for the X. And the other thing that I want to talk about, I didn't want to do this thing, but the MPD stuff. Now we're talking about the sales stuff with the X. Last year, Microsoft had one console on the shelves, the S. They had the old original Xbox. But the S wasn't selling that well because everybody was waiting for the X. So when we talk about this year that Microsoft's year over year is improved, this year they have another piece of hardware on there. Nonetheless, it's almost twice as much as the base model. So when they sell one X, it's like they're selling two S's. But Microsoft, you're not comparing Apple. You're comparing apples to oranges here. You're comparing last year when they just had an S sitting on shelves compared to now they got two products, an S and an X sitting on shelves. Of course, they're going to be up. They got more hardware on the shelves. Nintendo's getting matched with a Switch on a shelf versus a Switch on a shelf. Sony's getting matched last year with a Pro and a Slim, and now this year, Pro and a Slim. So if those are up, now you're comparing apples to apples because they got the same number of products on the shelves. Microsoft didn't have an X last year. It wasn't until November. So when you have an S and you're like, well, June is up. June, they just had an S sitting there. Now they got an S and an X. They got two hardware products. And when you're talking revenue, you buy one of those Xbox One X's, that's selling two consoles. So they should be up. Just mathematically, they should be up because they got more product on shelves and extensively more expensive product. So this whole year over year, Microsoft's doing well. I don't think it's as roses as it should be because it doesn't make sense. And you're not comparing the equal amount of products on shelves. That's my MPD fucking take on it. I'm not no fucking analyst. But shit. You got product one year and product 1 and 2 the second year. And the product number 2 is almost twice as much as the product number 1. You sell one of those Xbox One X's, yeah, you're going to make more money the next year. So there's my sidetrack on MPD analysis. Game Night's right. They just showed Castlevania Symphony of the Night 2. Requiem on the... That's what I mean. These games, they're like, it's not just God of War, Days Gone, and all this other shit. It is all this little stuff. And I'm not even talking about the exclusive and the VR shit that they got going on too, which I can't even buy it. It is that there's so many games getting announced for PlayStation that Microsoft is not getting. It is crazy. Even Nintendo's getting some of these games. And Microsoft is just left out in the dust. And that they add up. They might not be system sellers, but yo, when you look at that store and you see all these games, you got so much. It's all about options, right, Phil? It's all about options. But man, when you look at it, shit, like there's a lot of games and some big games too. Like they're not just indie bowl. Big games. And that's what I mean. When you're giving us those games, that amount of games and variety, you could do whatever the hell you want. Release a PlayStation 2 Slim and Classic. Do whatever you want. I don't have to buy it. I don't care. But if you're not giving all these games and you're not doing anything and you're just kind of resting on whatever, a waiting period and still trying to talk shit, then how the hell... Then that all that stuff that you're relying on, it just basically you're not giving anything new. You gotta provide, and then you can do that. You cannot just say, well, guys, we're dried up here, but here's some scraps. You can't do that. And like I said, it is not that. Well, I'm sitting here going, oh man, Phil Spencer, when's your God of War type game coming out? It doesn't have to be this quadruple A thing. Like you lowering my standards. It's just little simple things that show that the Xbox brand, the console, like I've been saying for the entire time that I've been on this fucking thing, it's just make stuff. That table that I showed you of all that stuff. Yes, you didn't have to buy it. It was all accessories. But it was all first party stuff. It was all stuff that they were investing in to provide experiences to Forza, to Lips, to Seen It, to 1 versus 100. Like, what's amazing is how Xbox Live has become almost like in the backdrop. Last generation, Xbox Live was like powered by Xbox Live. Xbox Live was like this club, this service. Everything was behind it, Netflix and all other bullshit. But it was always Xbox Live was the front and center. I think Mark Whitten had a lot to do with it. He went to Sonos early in this generation. But they really pushed Xbox Live. Things like game 1 versus 100 powered by Xbox Live. They were fun. They were online interactives. Hell, Microsoft, they talk so much about their avatars. Why wouldn't you just have like a fucking Xbox casino and have your avatars walking around the casino and having real, like, and playing with money and stuff like that? Like, not real money, but like, walking around a casino with your avatars that they made such a big deal about. Like, oh, they're 3D and all, there's so much, they're so great. Why don't you make some games with that, like a casino game, like something that's online, something that's fun? Like, I'm not saying I'm trash on avatars, but my God, like, you did nothing with them. You do nothing with them. Hell, even that Forza Kart game with your avatars and maybe some IP from Microsoft, that was amazing. It turned out to be Miami Streets. Fuck that, yeah, some mobile game on your tablet. Are you kidding me? Same thing. Look at this. We're in September right now, right? September 19th. What? Gears Tactics was coming this holiday, right? PC exclusive. Has anybody seen it? Has anybody? Hello, McFly, Bueller. Like, Gears Tactics. Is it coming out in October? Is it coming November, December? Like, this PC exclusive. You announced at E3. Excuse me, where is it? Gears Tactics. Like, what's going on? He said this holiday. I don't know what Gears Pop is. I'm not looking forward to that one. But where's Gears Tactics? Where's Below? Where are these games? Where are they? But you showed PUBG controller with rubbers. You showed consoles with stickers on boxes. You got Major Nelson in a fucking England castle showing Forza. You got Megan Fox sitting in a fucking car getting mud and snow thrown at her. You had fucking Exhibit doing the same thing. What? What? What the hell is going on? You had a Forza season simulator. You got PUBG controllers, stickers on boxes, a white Elite controller. 4 years later, let's make it white. But Gears Tactics, no, we don't have any gameplay of Gears Tactics. We don't have anything. Yeah, and Daniel Reed, yeah, the controller's sitting on chicken wings. And the PUBG rated for PlayStation 4. I swear, if PUBG runs better on PlayStation 4 than on the Xbox, shit. But who wants that crap, man? I'm telling Blackout, the PUBG's on its downswing, but Blackout's going to kill it. Just like Fortnite killed it. Do you remember last year? Fortnite was a cartoon. Every Xbox person was like, fuck Fortnite. PUBG's where it's at. Nobody wants that cartoon shit. And now this year, they're begging for crossplay on Fortnite. Meanwhile, Fortnite was a garbage copy mode from PUBG because Xbox was siding with PUBG and Fortnite was going on all of them last year. And there was a whole big thing almost a year ago where Fortnite was nothing. It was just a copy, cut and paste of PUBG. And PUBG was the shit. That was the real one. And now all of a sudden, we got people begging for crossplay with Fortnite. Like, what happened? Fortnite became the most amazing thing. I thought it was all about PUBG. Xbox has been packaging in PUBG for the last year, and now they decide to downgrade it after they sell it on September 4th. They're like, oh, we're going to downgrade and put performance mode in it. What the fuck was it doing in preview? You had 19 updates to it. But you add 3 maps. You're adding maps to it, adding content. You added microtransactions to it. But, oh, wait a second. Now we're going to downgrade it just to get the frame rate consistent at 30. Microsoft gave you a swift kick in the nuts. It still doesn't have a demo. It was in preview. It was the only game that went through preview without a trial. Another kick in the nuts against their entire policy. Plus, it was bundled and sold and bundled at retail as a preview game. There'll be no other game that does this. This was a Microsoft scam in a bag. Fucking scam. And then they released it on September 4th and going, oh, we're going to downgrade it now. Performance downgrades, removing reflections, tessellation, all this other bullshit to get the frame rate consistent. And they're going to possibly release a performance mode and a graphics mode. And it's to keep it stable at 30 frames per second. Meanwhile, H1Z1's at 60. You got Call of Duty Blackout at 60. You gotta be kidding me. They run and they shoot great. And it still didn't have a trial on it. And they're still charging $30. It's a scam. And Microsoft scammed us all because they take the Xbox console owner. They don't have to make stuff for them because they just feel like they take advantage of them. And you know what? It's similar to like how Nintendo, and they all do it. They all do it. Nintendo's doing it with online. They know that if they just charge $20 to give something that once was free, with this, well, you're playing Splatoon 2 and people say goodbye because it's going to be paid for now, and it was just $20 to play online, nobody would do it. They would drop off so much. But the fact that they threw those Nintendo games in there and added online functionality to them, there's their carrot. And they know that they're going to get that. And that's what people are mostly paying for, instant gratification. And Sony does it too. Sony does it. Sony, I think, is a little bit more sacrificing in the single-player games where, there's no microtransactions in it. They just God of War just has it in. There's no crazy DLC or expansion or stupid stuff that goes on like what they did with Lost Legacy. That was a great expansion. Sony's been taking some hits with just making just regular games. But Sony does it sometimes with the View, and they increase the price of their TV service. PlayStation Now, still we need the where's this download stuff coming? And they did the same thing early on with Drive Club being PlayStation Plus coming in, and then that was a half a game, and they added content to it, and they all do it. It's just that if you're giving people good, exciting stuff, it's more tolerable. And I think that's the whole point of this whole thing, was that these back-compact games, these backwards games, this is fine. There's no issue with the ability to play the games. I have issues with selling broke or games that don't function fully. But when you deliver some new stuff, new IP, show investment in your first party accessories and deals and getting exclusive content and making some amazing consoles, even custom consoles. They didn't even have a custom console for Forza Horizon. Forza Horizon 3 was one of the biggest selling games that lasted. It was one of the only Microsoft exclusives that really stood the test of time, was still on MPDs months later. And they didn't do a custom console for Forza Horizon 4. That tells you right there. And I know they say that they take time. They knew Forza Horizon 4 was coming out from early on this year. They knew this was coming out. They could have made it. They didn't make a custom console. And I don't just mean just a color. They could have made it really cool. They could have done a car. They could have done a custom Xbox One X with Forza. But they didn't. Another missed opportunity. A Xbox Classic. Another missed opportunity. This is what I mean, that they just seem to not care. And my motto is if you don't care, I don't care. And they don't care. And Phil Spencer getting on the stage with a t-shirt on and going, we care about you, that's not enough. Your actions got to show. I'm sure you're a nice person, but you're a bad businessman because you can't sell a product for shit. You can't sell a burger without the meat. You can tell us that you make the best burger, but if you have a burger without the meat, that's not good enough. And that's where they got the problem. They got nothing to talk about But there's so many little things that they could be doing right now to regain trust and regain things, and not buying studios. And look at the missed opportunities. Vancouver closed down. I thought Microsoft was buying Capcom. What the fuck happened to that? Microsoft was buying everybody, I thought. They're letting the studios shut down. They got fucking the coalition right next to them. They could have merged the studios together. They could have bought it. They could have done something. You watch these studios go down. You watch what is that? They bought the Kingdoms of Amalur. They bought that IP over in Microsoft didn't buy any IP. Microsoft's not doing shit. They bought they bought a few indie studios, and they're building a studio in Santa Monica. And they took two people that are already making games for them and said, "Hey, now you're part of us." And they bought two indie studios. And they're building one. That's all they're doing. That's all they did. And we'll have to see what Ninja Theory makes. You know? And Microsoft's track record, what they did with Rare. I'm not too confident they know how to make a good game. I don't know. But the quality that's been coming out of them has been fucking horrible. And the decisions that they've been making. And I hope Forza doesn't fall into that decision thing where they wanted this online kind of season-controlled world, and that comes back to bite them in the ass. Because they want this kind of online kind of get people, oh, well, we're having a Christmas tree race, and get everybody online racing, like kind of like an online community event-driven thing, like how they try to do with Destiny, and trying to make Forza more like Destiny, and that they're going to have events and during seasons and have it all controlled on a server. Like, I hope it works. But we'll see. And having those seasons controlled and gameplay adjusted for an entire week because of snow and ice, we'll see. Like, if it's that week, I hope I could race in just regular, like, racing. Yeah, they're going to buy EA. Microsoft is going to buy everybody. And which I don't understand. If they buy something, it's not a win. It's cool, but it's not a win. Like the thing is like Sony, when Kojima left Konami, Sony had him on stage like months later and showing a fucking game. Like, there are games that Microsoft talked about that we didn't even know about. Like, the thing is that just because they bought a studio doesn't mean that game that's going to come out of them is amazing. They worked with State of Decay 2 devs. I don't care if they owned them or not. State of Decay those devs, Undead Labs, did not make any other games. They made it for PC and they made it for Xbox. They weren't doing multi-plats on PlayStation and Nintendos. So they were working solely with them. Playground is the only assisted thing that gave polished games with Forza Horizon. So the way you look at it is that just because Microsoft buys somebody doesn't mean that we're going to get a God of War out of them, or we're going to get a Uncharted, a Mario, a Zelda, even a Gears or a Halo. Like a Gears or Halo, like I don't think so. But we need to see. And it's a wait and see. And it's a long, long wait and see. It's not no, hey, let's stay tuned. Next year's the year of Xbox. No. No. And that's a long time. I'm telling in gaming years, 2 years, even 1 year is a long time for gamers. It's a long time. And technology too. And what I have to say, Sony is not letting up on the gas. And neither is Nintendo. Those guys are revving ahead. It is like back to old school. We're talking classics. We're talking back Sony days and Nintendo. Man, they are at each other's throats, and they are both like this classic. PS Classic is like Nintendo. We could do one too, and they slapped them right back. And Nintendo's gonna slap back on an N64. And these two big Japanese titans are going to be battling, and we're winning. We're getting all these games from them because they are fighting back and forth. We're getting the PlayStation. We wouldn't get the Classic if NES and the Super NES Classics were not successful. That's what competition does. And when you just got another one sitting there on their ass, eating chicken dinners, going, well, we don't care. We want to play everywhere. 2 million people, 2 billion people, 2 billion asses grabbed. I can't wait. Our game should be everywhere. That's not listening to gamers. All this bullshit. Like conceded. Like basically they conceded. What did that you see what we're getting out of them? Controllers. That's it. We got controllers. That's what happens when you have a lackluster, non-competitive party. And Major Nelson white gloves. So sit back, chill, and just do nothing because they are not competing. And stop trying to sell it. 4K, when Phil Spencer 2 years ago said, just play the games, we don't play resolution. And now all I hear is, oh, this is 4K, it's checkerboarded, it's 1800p. PlayStation got 1, 2, 3, 4p, and all this other P, and my dick P's, and this. What the fuck? You know what? Stop it. Just stop with the P's and the frames and all this other bullshit. Because you want to know what? When a great game comes out and it just works, nobody gives a fuck about the P's. Nobody gives a fuck about the frames. Nobody gives a fuck about the checkerboarding. Nobody gives a fuck about the fucking lighting bullshit. It just works. And that's the way it is. It just works. Spider-Man comes out. God of War comes out. If it wasn't for that puddle downgrade shit, they would just go, yep, 4K checkerboard masterpiece. All right, move on. God of War, what resolution? I don't fucking know. It looked amazing. I don't give a shit. And that's the point. You just played the game for the story, for the interaction, for the entertainment, for the looks. It looked amazing. It doesn't matter. Yeah, if stutter frames and all that shit, that matters. Frame rate drops. Yeah, that sucks. But if it's like, oh, well, it went from 30 to 29. But this is what Xbox tried to do with this X. Because that's the only justification for the $100 is because they're talking about P's and P's. But it's mostly P's. Because the frame rate performance on the X has been equivalent to everything else. That's the problem, too, with the Xbox One X. They should be driving some resolution narrative, but they're making the frame rate drops to shit. That's why you're seeing like a PUBG on fucking the S running at a more stable frame rate than the X, because the X is just brute forcing resolution. I heard people just go, why are you taking all these graphical things out of there? Just drop the resolution from 4K to 2K. Keep all those things in PUBG, the lighting and the shadows and the tessellation and textures and all the other shit, and just lower the resolution a bit. Obviously, you can't do it at 4K. But no, you leave it at 4K and you take away all the graphics, the graphic pieces. Why? Is it because Microsoft's advertising it as 4K and they have to try to say this is the 4K console, and so Microsoft is forcing 4K resolution on these games? Like, I don't understand it. If it's not running properly, drop the resolution a little bit. Who gives a shit? True 4K is anything above 1080p, right? No matter which way you do it. So what does it matter if it's running native? Is it because you need it native? I don't understand it. Obviously, these games are not optimized for you. And the problem is, the reason why they're not optimized is because your console's not selling that well and developers don't want to give a fucking flying fuck about it. And are you sitting there going, I don't care about console sales, I care about engagement? Then the thing is, like, you want to know what? Then the dev's not going to care either. You're not the primary platform for development, so you're not getting the best optimization in these games. Hence why a lot of these multiplayer games are really not using. There's like FIFA. FIFA last year, the game looked exactly the same. And from the review, they basically said FIFA 18 last year, there's so much, there's all overhead on the Xbox that they're not using. Why? You paid $100 for that overhead, an extra $100 for that overhead, but they're not using it. They just gotta get this shit together. They are lost. I don't know if they're ever gonna come back. I have my doubts. If they come back, that's great. But man, the two titans are fighting it out. Sony and Nintendo, and that's where it is right now. If you want like getting games and content and exclusives and feature and not fuck features, you want games and VR and stuff like that. Like Microsoft abandoned that too. They talked about it and then dropped out of it like a bitch. Even their VR shit on their PC. Meanwhile, I see there's an article. Sony actually came up and prioritized new technology. They're working on new technology to remove the motion sickness. Plus, they got an amazing game with the aim controller, Fire Team Bravo. That's like Rainbow Six. And they got a bunch more VR games coming out. And they're neat. They're experiences. But if this was just a VR machine, yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because there's different games take different aspects to make it. You got to be in the mood, for VR. But it's an amazing experience. And it's an alternative experience. Another option, as Phil Spencer says, to complement the big games, the exclusive games, the games that you get on the system. That's what I mean. If they were just relying on VR and said, fuck, we're not making Last of Us, we're not making any games, you're just going to do VR from now on, like sort of Microsoft did with Kinect. Like, oh, yeah, we're not making any more big games. Here's Gears Judgment, and we're just going all in on Kinect. Let's dance. That's a problem. But they're not doing that. They're complementing their games with VR experiences. And that's great because you get every option possible. Yeah, and Game Night said that the patent they filled last year didn't put into effect till last week to remove the motion sickness. Hey, I tell you, the screen's really good on the VR. I'm very impressed for what it was. And you're right, Daniel B. They should target 1440p in general. Like, that's what I mean. That's why the PlayStation 4 Pro is probably selling so well, because it's at that sweet spot. It's not too. It's $400, so it's not $500. So it's not the most expensive console, but it gives you just enough higher resolution to support the 4K. Yes, it might not be native 4K, but it gives you enough and simulates that resolution to show that the 4K TV does have a little bit more sharpness and clarity over your 1080p TV. It's just enough. It's enough as a placeholder to next generation when we might see more of this, but you don't know. I think a lot of people for next generation are going to be disappointed where they just we're getting a flat 4K 60 next gen. It depends on the games. If you want higher fidelity games and higher graphical games with more animations, and there's going to be compromises made. That's why we have to stop focusing on the resolution. Digital Foundry, please pack it up. Just stop focusing on resolution, because resolution is not the game. Like, if you want graphic effects, if you want AI, if you want physics, you're not going to have unlimited power. It's still going to be confined power. And PC people do it all the time. They might say, I'm running this game at 4K 60, maxed out. Oh, okay. But you're not doing that on every game. You're not doing it on every game. So it varies on what the game has and what effects you could turn off and what effects you could, do you turn half physics and all this other stuff. So just the flat, it won't be the standard. You're right, Sick. Like, it's not going to be the standard. Exactly. It just won't. And if that's like, you got to have 4K 60, then you got to get a PC and go look at benchmarks and go get one of the bigger the graphics cards by the time that comes out. We'll be on the 40 Ti, some shit like that, 4000 Ti. But so just stop chasing resolution and just chase great games and stories and interaction and things that you can do. Like, there are times I'm playing these games, I'm like, holy shit, I just did that. So this resolution thing, software is never going to catch up to hardware. It never did. It never did. But the one thing that the consoles always offered over PC was, as Seamus Blackley said, a closed, fixed environment that developers can target specific specifications to maximize the potential of that closed environment. It's not running background processes that Windows has to do for just maintenance of operating systems. You don't have 5,000 configurations of graphics and chips and AMDs and Intels. You got a targeted hardware. That's why potentially you could get your best visuals and best utilization out of a fixed piece of hardware. Like a console could sustain so many years of time because the developers learn how to maximize the potential of that console. And Microsoft kind of blew the lid off of that thing by forcing their developers to make multi-plat games and have to develop for PC and for Xbox and possibly inject services for Game Pass sustainability. So Microsoft fucking gave their people the shaft. But you get games looking like Detroit, like Horizon Zero Dawn, like God of War, these games like Spider-Man, because the developer had to work on a closed system and maximize the potential of that one or two pieces, so the Slim and the Pro, but that fixed architecture. And that's the reason why Seamus Blackley said they had to justify making an Xbox game console when they were just in bed with PC. He had to justify a game console, saying that they need to have a focused, fixed environment of variations that would not change for a developer to maximize the potential and make great games on. So they're not worried about configurations. They're worried about the game. Microsoft has changed that, and now they say you got to worry about all your PC configurations, UWP bullshit, jerk-off shit, cross-play, Game Pass sustainability, microtransaction developer, esports bullshit. The list goes on and on and on. And like what I say, just make a great game. Let the studios make what they want. Look at Spider-Man. They made an original story. The detail, that screenshot I have of the detail, the focus. They didn't just phone in Spider-Man. They actually made an own original story that's almost, you could say, is this Homecoming 2? Like, is this the next Marvel movie? And now they're going to make Homecoming 3? Like, they made it their own. And they respected that IP, which when I was talking to Frogs about this last night, a lot of games that use kind of known IP, like they paid, hey, we just got the Harry Potter deal. Oh, we just got Spider-Man. Oh, we just got the Hulk. Typically, the gameplay is not, or the focus is not so much on the game. Like it's almost like a cash in. Like we just got the IP to sell the IP. The IP is going to sell itself. It's going to be a decent game, but it's not going to be the best game. Spider-Man, this game, Spider-Man, could have it is its own thing, and it's the first time I've really seen an IP that it almost looked like it came from Marvel Studios themselves. Like Marvel was like, "Here's our game that we made." Like it's amazing that it came ever. Yeah, it's better than Homecoming. That's pretty cool because I didn't play all of it, but it feels like the Marvel movies. Like it just really does. And the fact that they could tie in those Marvel movies is pretty awesome. And the thing is that it almost like this came from the original creator. Like Stanley created this himself. This is my game. And you wouldn't think that it was handed off to Sony and then handed off to Insomniac to make a game. They're like the level of hand-me-offs, you can't, like, you don't see it in the gameplay or the story or the design of the game, which is pretty amazing. Because typically when you get these, you might see the hand-me-offs. Like, we gave it to this studio. This is their interpretation of Spider-Man and stuff like that. And it's pretty amazing. And the thing is that that's when you focus on hardware. You focus on a platform. And we'll see how it goes in the future. But I'm going to wrap it up, guys. This has been another What Grinds My Gears. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Stardust Feels Good, Frogs, The Gaming Night, Daniel B, Sick Humor. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Ant Money. Who else has been in here? Stephen Powell, Alish, Callie Rex, my man, Meds Comma J, Jonas. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I'll talk to you guys soon. Again, there's another What Grinds My Gears. I want to thank you again. Go follow me on Twitter, share and like the video, and comment. I'll respond. Thank you very much.